Last week we had Project Big Picture. This week's all been about the European Super League. What are your
Yeah, I know.
thoughts
Well, I
on
know a
that?
lot about that. I've just been told about it, so been paying a lot of attention to that.
But you are a man who obviously has been a long time in English football. You've played up and down the divisions. You've played right down the bottom. You've played at the very top. You've managed now in the Premier League for a number of years. As a proposal, is it the sort of thing that could do damage to the game, or do you think that ultimately the big six are so far ahead anyway that maybe just let them go on with it?
I don't know about damage to the game, but the more obvious thing from a management point of view is over the last few seasons, all I've heard about is too many games. So therefore, how are you going to fit them games in? So, which competition is going to therefore get parked or pushed aside? I don't know. But that seems to be the theme over the last couple of seasons is too many games. So I'd be more interested in that side of things rather than anything else as a manager.
And I suppose the proposal would be less teams in the Premier League. I mean, we heard similar things with Project Big Picture, no Carabao Cup maybe to open up midweek slots, that kind of thing. I mean, I guess if the biggest teams in the country could get it through, they would want to do that and find a way of making it work.
Well, I'm sure they have a different view, and I've said before, we're not naive as part of the Premier League and Burnley. We don't sell the whole league. We know the superpower teams have a massive part of selling the actual product, but we still play our part, and I still think it's healthy for the game if everyone has a say in what happens. As discussed last week about the varying views of the projects and different thoughts on football. So I think a balanced view from all is still important, whilst not being naive. As I said, we are aware that the superpower teams that have got world branding, obviously they play their more than their fair share in the sense of selling the product, I imagine. I mean, I'm not into the marketing, but I imagine they do. But on the other hand, we're still part of a competitive process. We're still part of the league. And I said last time out, we've earned the right, along with many other teams. We're still fighting to continue that. And then if you do include them clubs, what about the ones when Leicester win the league? How does that work then? Do they suddenly have a say for 1 year, then not a say the next year? So how are you going to define it?
And what about the nature of the competition itself? I mean, the balance of power in the Premier League. Obviously, we've got these established teams, and the wealth of the Champions Leagues help them kind of grow that gap. Are we kind of inevitably going to have to find a situation where they are appeased, for want of a better word, where they can get more money, more revenue, more power in the division? Do you think?
Well, I think they changed the split of the finance recently, or the last kind of thinking was to change it as you go up the table and different merit payments. So there was somewhat a change in that, getting certain positions to get more money. So there was a kind of a soft change to it. How much do you change it? How competitive do you want the league to be? It's already very difficult for teams like ourselves. We work on a certain model which is difficult in itself, but then when you put it against everyone else's and against the league, then it becomes very difficult just from that point of view. The teams that come up, how many in the Championship have you described as bigger teams than us, like Leeds have come up and Sheffield Wednesday and Nottingham Forest and teams like that? If you class them as being bigger teams or bigger clubs, how do they afford to get in there in the first place? Because they're already at stretch now in the Championship anyway. So if they do get up there, how do they stay in there? So, there's all these things that have to be factored in. Like I say, we all respect, I certainly do, the superpower clubs for what they've built over the years and what sort of clubs they've become. But you can't forget about the rest of football, and certainly not currently the Premier League and the Championship, because obviously they work in tandem for who goes into what division. So without doing down the two lower divisions, I think that's the case. So they've got to. You can't just decide who and what without a bit of fairness, because if you don't have that fairness, you're going to lose the competitive element of the league. And then I don't think. Well, I think part of the marvel of the Premier League, it is very competitive. There's other leagues in Europe that more or less run to the beat of the top clubs, and they win the league invariably. In the Premier League, we know that's not the case.
And what about the calls from the likes of Gary Neville for a kind of independent regulator to come in? Suggestions that football can't regulate itself for all the various reasons that I suppose we've touched upon during this discussion so far. I mean, would you favour an independent regulatory body or something like that to oversee the whole game?
I think there's people in a far better position, and Gary must be one of them, to give his opinion on that. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I think there's varying views. I think there's constant varying views lately because of all the different challenges that football's having amongst the world's challenge, of course, with COVID. I think there's people who in think tanks and clubs and chairmen all have a much better view of that than me. You know, we can all throw it around, but at the end of the day, I can't affect that. I can't have the power to operate in that. So I try and focus on the things that I can have the power to change and operate with.
Well, one of the things that you might have the power to change with is next year, maybe 5 changes in a game, because that's something that I've been looking at, this 5 substitutes, whether that's something that should be brought in permanently. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think it helps. Yeah, again, I think it plays towards the big clubs. I think they can manage their squads better. They can have more advantage in the sense of changing players when they want to. We don't carry a big squad, so it wouldn't be as effective. But yeah, again, we have to work within the rules of what's decided. I think there's other rules that are more important than that, personally, but they rarely get looked at. So I think we'll just have to go with the flow of whatever decisions come out.
And how's the squad this week? Phil Bardsley, I know, still isolating. Any update on his condition? Have you had any further setbacks from COVID-related?
No. It's just going through the protocols now, the necessary protocols and retests, etc. He's okay in himself. He's not had a big hit or anything, which seemingly is the case with a lot of the football cases, or so I'm led to understand. Ben Mee's getting better. He's not there yet, but he's back on the grass with the first team squad, so that's good. He will need a bit of an extended period because obviously he's been out quite a long time now, so we'll have to look after that side of things. Matt Loughton's back training, so that's good. Corky's the only one that we know was always going to be a longer term situation, but he's beginning to make progress now and back running and easing back into being or getting back towards top fitness, but he's a bit of a way yet.
Lovely. I'll chat to you in a bit. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. Steve Wyeth, PL. Hi, Steve.
Hello, Sean. Hello, everybody. Sean, you said after Monday night that you started to feel as though you were seeing some familiar attributes from your players again. Have you seen that identity creeping back further during the course of the last few days?
Yeah, I think it helps with the competitive element of the squad getting fitter and more bodies coming back towards it. So, the training edge grows and continues to do so. I thought we took it into the game and gave a good performance and one that we could probably edged it overall. And I thought, a goal away from probably winning, you never know, of course. So just good signs. And I've said this many times, you're not always as far away as you think. I certainly don't think we have been this season. We just haven't got on the right side of the margins, and we know we have to do that. We are often in tight games. We haven't done that so far. We so nearly did the other night against West Brom, but I was still pleased with the general performance, and I've been very pleased with the way the players are working as the squad gets fitter. As the squad gets tighter again, with injuries coming back to full fitness, or certainly the process of full fitness. Then it brings that little bit more alertness to the squad, and they know that that they've got to work even harder to stay in the shirt, so to speak.
As the nature of this tight turnaround between season, Sean, and the craziness of some of the results we've seen at the start of the season across the board, has that demonstrated how fine the margins are between how well your results looked at the end of last season compared to how you started this one?
Well, I did mention then it was going to be very difficult, and we came out after the Man City game, various problems on and off the pitch, of course, and came out very strong with a very strong run of performance. But I wasn't naive. I didn't think that was, we can just operate on that for a longer period. So we get a break, and then lo and behold, we've got similar amounts of injuries, which has been really difficult to take for the team, let alone us as a staff. But as I said, it's coming back together now. The group is getting more balanced again. I still think we were 2 or 3, certainly 2, I think, short of what we probably need to, sort of activate the group, if you like, because players, they need in-house competition. They also need that freshness sometimes where a new face comes in. It just kind of gives everyone another little push forwards. And we haven't managed to do that. On the other hand, we have kept players who are very, very important here. So there is a balance to that. And I've said all along, once they're all fit, then it doesn't look quite stretched. It's just that we stretch easily because we don't carry a massive squad.
It's 1 point from the first 4 games. You've had similar starts in the past during your time with Burnley. What have you learned from those experiences? How easy is it to galvanise the players after they've had a start like that?
Well, it's not difficult to galvanise them. They're wise enough to know. Most of the players have been here a while now, so they know what the Premier League's like. They know that you can have bumps in the journey of a season. Equally, we plan on every game as it comes, and we stay that focused. But equally, on the bigger picture, I'm aware it's a season's work. It always has been for us. It's never been just small chunks. I've had to look at a whole season and kind of find the balance of the balanced view really of results against performances against what's required. And more or less, the minimum requirement is around that 38 to 40 point mark, more or less, to look after yourselves, and then building on top of that, which we have done a number of times. So we're not going to go too far away from that thinking because it served us well. On the other hand, my staff are working very hard to bring a difference to the training schedule, the way that we're working. The players have adapted to that and they seem to be enjoying that. So, credit to them for just bringing that little twist in the feel of the group. And I think I'm certainly enjoying the work they've been putting in over the last couple of weeks. I think they've been really strong in their training and strong in their view about getting results. And I thought, as I suggested at the beginning of this interview with yourself, I thought we were strong against West Brom and argued, probably could have took the all 3 points.
You've got a couple of illustrious visitors coming up in the space of a week. Chelsea shortly to come. First up, Tottenham. I seem to recall you really rattled them when they visited Turf Moor back in March. Got at them in the first half. Jose Mourinho was forced into a couple of half-time changes. Considering how hectic their schedule is, can you rattle them again?
Well, we certainly didn't look to rattle anyone, only with good play and effective play. So that's what we'll be looking to do again, play effectively, play a style that can be awkward and hard for them to get a grip on. And equally, you've got to deal with them. They're in good form. They've got top players. We know that. But we have come across them before and given a good performance level and affected the game and got things from the game. We're going to have to do that again, obviously, because they've got some, what I think are really top players and one of the top probably in the country with Harry Kane, who he's showing once again not just his goals, but he can make a goal as well. So, it's not about individuals, and I don't think he's the professional who thinks he is an individual. He knows there's a team around him, but I still think he's a top player.
How easy is it to get a handle on Tottenham if you look at their last 2 results? A couple of crazy matches, the 3-3 draw against West Ham, the 6-1 against Manchester United. Are they an easy team to put your finger on at the moment?
No, but I think a lot of the managers, or I imagine a lot of them, certainly the staffs and certainly our staff, all debating, the difference now, a full season, or what's looking certainly so far like a long spell of no fans in the stadium. How's that affecting things? And the different feeling that brings. And I mentioned over the last couple of weeks, when we came back after the lockdown, I think it was different. There was an obvious vibrancy because everyone was desperate to get back, and all the players, the staffs, the fans, somewhat through screens, of course. Whereas it's different now. You're going into a long season, which could, in theory, be one of empty stadiums. So I think there's an adjustment to that, and it seems a possible, not a definite, that is affecting the ups and downs of performances. So we'll have to wait and see. We still, we've spoken to the players about that and remaining focused on what we do. We did it very well coming out of the lockdown last season, despite some real challenges to the group and on and off the pitch challenges. And we've got to respond to that again. It's been tough with the injuries so far this season, but signs are getting stronger of the group coming back together and the performances coming back.